Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
Now, we are heading just over the border from here to someone who lives in an area called Coolamon. No one's ever heard of where that is. But I'm led to believe that she is currently in Wagga Wagga, a town so good you got to name it twice. Good morning, Georgie Robertson.
Good morning.
You've got Neil here. The other voice you'll hear is Rob. Thanks for joining us on Regional Roundup. But before we do, I have to play this. I forgot.
Cause I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the deserts bare, man. I've breathed the mountain air, man. I've travelled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. Been to Tullamore, Seymour, Lismore, Malulabar, Nambour, Roochdore, Kilmore, Marillabar, Birdsville, Emmaville, Wallaville, Connemara, Connemara, Strathrown, Proserpine, Alladala, Darwin, Gingin, Lilliquin, Muckdilla, Wallamilla, Bougainville, Cumberland, Ramakiller. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the deserts bare, man. I've breathed the mountain air.
We don't have a decent producer here, so you understand. Well, welcome, Georgie Robertson, to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show.
Thank you very much. I don't think they mentioned Wagga Wagga in that song.
It is interesting, you know, that we have played that introduction now probably 30 times and we haven't struck it for one yet. The song actually, I think it's got something like 90-something town names, and Wagga Wagga may get a mention elsewhere, but not in that intro.
For goodness sake, Neil, do your job properly, research, listen to the song, write them all down, and go and find someone.
If only I knew someone who could help me in like regional PR or something like that. So, Georgie, tell us a bit about you and where you live and stuff like that, and a bit about what's going on in the Wagga region.
So I'm actually, I'm in Wagga today. I've got an office in Wagga, but I live in Coolamon, which is about 40 kilometres northwest of Wagga. It's a little riverina town and quite gorgeous with about 2,000 people in it. But Wagga is our kind of larger hub for, you know, bigger kind of shopping expeditions. And so I'm in here today and I'm actually in the office doing a bit of work, which is a bit boring for a Saturday. But I have a PR consultancy and have a fairly broad church when it comes to clients, but the overarching theme is that any client that I work with has to really be doing something good for the regional communities and having an impact on rural and regional Australia.
And that was one of the appeals of chatting to you on Regional Roundup. We have spoken to people from primarily the southeast corner of Australia, more so than anywhere further north. We've had a couple a bit further north. But obviously we're coming out of 2 years of what has been pretty nasty, health-wise for the whole of the world, not just Victoria or Australia. But what are you sensing in terms of the regional world? Are people starting to come out the other side? What's your take on that?
I think definitely it depends on what industry you're in. I think the hospitality industry is probably still hurting somewhat, and especially now with fuel prices going up, there's probably people travelling less into regional areas and spending money. But I mean, overall, I think Wagga has weathered COVID particularly well. And services-wise, I've noticed that, particularly in that kind of creative services space, there's been almost no downturn that I've noticed within kind of my peer group. So, digital marketing, content creation agencies, web design agencies, they've all really just kind of powered on through during COVID. But definitely, I think, retail and hospitality have borne the brunt of it here in Wagga, and hopefully that's starting to change now. But again, everyone's impacted by supply chain issues now, which is another kind of headwind that they're looking at facing, and it just doesn't seem to let up really.
Georgie, down around Geelong, most businesses are looking for staff. They've got growth that they can't match. A lot of hospitality places have actually gone through the stages of not being able to open due to a lack of staff. What's the employment situation up around, let's look at not only Wagga being a big regional town in New South Wales, but a place like Coolamon. How's the staff, agriculture and general businesses running?
Yeah, look, I think that's an issue that is statewide, if not Australia-wide, in terms of, finding staff and retaining staff. And obviously the ag sector's been hit pretty hard in that sense because we don't have the backpackers and the, international travellers kind of filling those gaps. But in retail and hospitality, I would say the same issues that Geelong are facing, Wagga is also facing. It's really tricky finding staff and keeping them. So that's been a big issue for lots of small businesses that I've come across as well.
I've got a PR role for you then. I've been banging on about it for years and it frustrates me that it's not done well, is encouraging, incentivising people who are doing it tough in a capital city to come to a regional centre, sell their home, or if they're renting, come out and you've got set employment and you've got a different lifestyle, but a magnificent lifestyle that I reckon people in capital cities have no understanding of how good it is to live in a place like Coolamon.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that is a big issue, but I also, there is still that kind of negative stigma around living in regional centres because of, health issues. We don't have the same access to, specialists and medical services that people in the city do. And, housing is also a bit of an issue. Look at places like Griffith, for example, that have huge requirements for, especially during peak seasons, and they can't attract people because there's not enough housing.
That health issue we've spoken about before, particularly with Katrina up at Mildura, and they're getting a new base hospital up there. So hopefully you would expect that things will improve a little as election years come around. He said somewhat cynically. I guess the other thing that we've noticed a bit in Geelong is that over the last little while, people have said, to do my, if you like, corporate job, I don't need to be in Melbourne or Sydney anymore. I can actually live in Geelong and I can telecommute. Are you seeing a bit of that going on as well?
Yeah, I definitely am, and I think obviously COVID's been a huge, that has been a silver lining for people working within kind of regional centres or people wanting to move back to regional communities. It's just, really highlights that you can do the job anywhere, and if you do need to be in a capital city, you just jump on a plane and you're there, in under 60 minutes for if you're coming from Wagga and you're heading to Melbourne or Sydney. So I think it's a really, I think that has been a benefit, and there are lots of people that are, I've noticed that in Wagga as well, there's lots of skilled staff that are moving back here because they've seen that it is a better lifestyle.
I guess it also underlines what you were saying before about the digital world, people building websites and all those sorts of things. I guess the reason that's grown a bit is because people are doing what we're saying and moving to places like Wagga, being able to do their job and then just being able to manage that from where they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great, we've known it for a long time, right, that you can do, can do any kind of skill from within the regional communities, but I just don't think, I think it's been kind of the bigger organisations and corporate businesses that haven't recognised that it is achievable. You are still retaining productive staff, and it doesn't matter where they're based as long as they've got good internet and can get to the metro centres when they need to.
I think one of the other things too, of course, as you know, I do a bit of corporate work, and the corporate recruiters, I think, they're all based in capital cities as well, so they don't get it. I know your friend Joe is doing a lot of work in the world of remote recruitment and how that works, and I think the recruiters, I think, need to look at themselves as well a bit.
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, thank God for point to remote roles, really, because Joe, as you mentioned, she has spent an incredible amount of time and energy pitching to these bigger corporate organisations to say, look, guys, why are you not, looking at skilled executives living in regional Australia and placing your jobs out here, because there's nothing to stop you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, I think starting to again, I think COVID's been a great thing for someone like Joe, who is really trying to make people understand that they can have employees based all over the country. It doesn't matter where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Georgie, thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to talk to us here on the Two Blokes Chatting radio show. I think we can just do a little bit of a plug for the Regional 250, which is a podcast on which you and I are going to chat very, very soon, he said, winking and actually saying we've pre-recorded it. A great story that's worth listening to. So, folks, if you want to know a bit more about Georgie and her world up in Coolamon, the regional250.com.au is the website for that podcast. Georgie, thanks for joining us. Look forward to keeping in touch.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
No worries at all.